Alright, so for this podcast, we are going to go over writing the equation of a line still, but now when you're given 2 points. Okay? So here it says in this section, we are going to extend what we learned previously in 5.4, which is the last one. In the earlier section, we were given 2 things, the slope and a point. Right? When we were given the slope and the point, we used point-slope form. So now the question is, what if we were given less information? Meaning, what if we weren't given the slope and a point? Okay? So we're going to kind of have to bring in some old information, okay? So what you've done so far is they've always given you the slope, right? If you do slope intercept, you know the slope. If you do point slope, you know the slope. But what if they don't give you the slope? Well, what must we know in order to know the slope of a line? Okay? Technically, we need to know the rise over the run. And how do we get the rise over the run? Well, whether it's with a graph or whether it's doing it with math, technically what you need is 2 points, right? As long as you have any 2 points of the line, you can find the slope. Alright? So, now that you're given 2 points, what's the formula for the slope? So remember this from last chapter. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay? So, we're still going to use that formula. Alright? So, if they only gave you 2 points, no slope, you would start off by first finding the slope. Once you have the slope, how can we put it into point-slope form? Well, you're going to still use the formula from the last podcast. That's the point-slope form. Now that you found the slope, now you can plug in your m, and you're going to use the x1, y1 as a point of the line. So the thing here is, if they give you 2 points, really it doesn't matter which point you use. And I'll just kind of show you that in this example. Okay? Alright, so let's kind of go through this. So for our example problem, alright, write the equation of a line in point-slope form and slope-intercept form that goes through the points, -1, 5, and 3, -3. So that's all the information they've given us. All they've given us is 2 points. So don't write this down because I'm going to show you why we can't do this. Once again, the first formula that we learned for a line is y equals mx plus b. I cannot use this because I don't have a slope to plug in and I don't have a y-intercept. None of these are the y-intercept. So see, I can't do that. The second one we learned is point slope. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Thing is, I have points I can plug in, but I still do not have the slope. So this is why we cannot start with those. Okay? So kind of like what is said up top, what I am given is 2 points. So because I'm given 2 points, the first thing I'm going to need, because I always need my slope, I'm going to first find my slope. Okay? So remember this. It's a fraction. You're subtracting the y's on the top, you're subtracting the x's on the bottom. Okay? So I'm going to plug this point in first, and I'm going to plug this point in second. Remember, the subtraction is part of the problem, so whether it's positive or negative, you have to plug that in as such. So, remember, this is the x, this is the y. First number is the x, second number is the y. So the top is the y. Remember, rise is the y's, right? It rhymes. So, I'm going to do 5 is the first y minus a -3. Right? 5 minus 3 is not the same as 5 minus -3. The bottom is your run. That's the x's. The first x is -1. The minus, second y, x is 3. So if I simplify that, 5 minus -3, minusing a negative really means plus. So that's an 8. And then -1, sorry, that looks like a 4. -1 minus 3 is -4. Now remember, you always look to see if you can simplify your fraction. Check it by plugging in the calculator. That means division. If I do 8 divided by -4, I get -2. That is my slope. Okay? So that's the most important thing. So we got the slope. So now what can we do? Well, we have slope and we have a point. So now what I can do is I can take that information and I'm going to put it in point-slope form. Now, they did give me 2 points, but I only need 1 point. That's all we were doing for point-slope form, right? So if we do that, it's going to be y. So remember, the formula is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Alright, so remember I showed you I'm going to show you this two ways, just to prove the point that it does not matter. Okay? Alright, I'm going to plug in the first point. So I'm going to do y minus, and in here my y is 5, equals my slope, remember that's -2, and then it's going to be x minus, and this x was -1. So it's x minus -1. Alright, now remember that double negative looks messy, so I'll clean it up to a plus. Okay? So, this is my point-slope form. Now, what can I do once I have it in point-slope form? What you did last page is once you have it in point-slope form, we can turn it into slope-intercept by solving for y. Alright, so if I do that here, so remember, first thing you do is distribute. So this side does not change. It's y minus 5 equals, distribute the slope, -2 times x is -2x, -2 times +1 is -2. Not done until you have y by itself, so we'll add 5, that's the opposite of -5, do that on both sides, and you're left with y on the left side, that's what we want, -2x plus 3. Okay, so just to kind of recap what we did here. Got the slope, used the first point, here's my slope-intercept, and then I take that and solve it, point-slope, solve it, and now it's in slope-intercept. Okay? Alright, now just to prove that you could have done the other point, it doesn't matter because all the points are on the line. So watch what I'll do here. I'm going to do the same thing. My slope is still -2, right? That doesn't change. But now when I do my point-slope form, now I'm going to try this point. Okay? So if I do that, here's what's going to happen. So when I use the same formula, it's going to be y minus, and here my y is -3, equals, the slope is still -2, x minus, and here my x is 3. Alright, let's go back. Let's take care of that double negative. Y minus -3 really means y plus 3. Okay? So this is my point-slope form. Now because it's a different point, this and this looks different, right? That's okay. So watch what happens when we convert it again to slope-intercept. I'm going to start off by distributing. So now on the left side it's y plus 3 still, equals -2x, -2 times x, and then it's -2 times -3, which is plus 6. I solve for y, I get rid of the plus 3 by doing -3. Left with y on the left side equals -2x, 6 minus 3 is +3. So as you can see, we get the same final answer for the line in slope-intercept form. Okay, so once again, it all depends what they give you. If only they give you two slopes and you don't have a slope, the first thing you do is find the slope. Once you got the slope, you take the slope in one of the points, put it in point-slope form. Like we did with the first point or the second point, doesn't matter. Because if you do it properly, when you simplify it to slope-intercept form, it'll come out the same. Okay? Alright, so on the following page, here are 6 problems. Okay? So the directions say you're going to write the equation first in point-slope form, and then you're going to turn it to slope-intercept form. Okay? Now all these problems, they're giving you 2 points. So think about, what am I going to do with the 2 points first? We need the slope first, because as you can see, it's the most important thing. You always need the slope, whether it's point slope or slope intercept. Okay? Alright, so pause the podcast, take some time and work these ones out, and when you're done, unpause it to check your answers. And once again, if you're having difficulty or you have mistakes, please come see me before you go to the next one. Alright? Good luck. Alright, so now that you've done these, here's how I have this organized so you can kind of see the steps, but I haven't shown all the work. M equals this is what I got for the fraction, but this is highlighted the simplified slope. Okay? Then I've given you 2 versions of the point slope form, showing this one for the first point or this one for the second point. So as long as you have one of these and they match, then you're good. And then like we showed the first time, no matter which one you have, when you solve it, this is your final answer in slope-intercept form. Okay, so once again, here's the slope. In yellow is the final simplified slope. Point slope for the first point, or point slope for the second point. Final slope intercept. Okay, so here's the first four. Pause it and check if you need to, and then unpause and I'll move it down to the last two examples. Alright, so after these four, here are the last two answers. Okay, so check your slope, point slope, and final slope intercept. Alright, now once again, if you did great on these, awesome. If you have any mistakes or questions, please see me again. Alright?